All right, we are live. I always want to do like little hand puppets whenever we go live. It's just funny. Like, okay. All right, guys. So welcome to the live stream for Apollo in New. I'm going to wait for just a minute here. Move this over where I'm not looking like over. Drop in the chat, guys, a little bit of accounting. I'm not accounting. I'm already weird tonight. Sorry, Matt. Sorry, Zach. Just I'm already off the reservation. Can you guys hear us? Audio good? Drop in the chat. Let us know if you guys can hear us with the 60 or so people that are already here with us live. I need to make sure we got an audio. So, Zach, how are you, sir?
Good, man. Looks like we're good, too. We're getting some comments coming in.
Okay, cool. Yep. So, Matt, we good? You can hear me? Everything's good on your end?
Doing great, Austin. Great to be here.
Cool. Well, welcome. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
There's been some interest in you and your organization and the project, to say the least. So it's awesome. I appreciate you letting us, unveil your project and unveil you, really, quite honestly. So here we go. Okay.
That's pretty anticlimactic, but sure. Yeah, it's me.
Yeah, it's you. It's just Matt. Yeah. And so we've all talked a bunch of times. So, I mean, to me, it's just, you're just Matt. So,
yeah.
So guys, here's what I want to do. I want to get a little bit of housekeeping out of the way. So this is an AMA. And so what we want to do is Zach and I have some prepared content, meaning like things that we want to talk with Matt. We want to make sure that Matt gets most of the stage to talk about his projects. If you can hear the dogs, my apologies. There they are. That's not an Austin AMA if I don't have dogs barking. Which, speaking of that, Matt, you're going to need to bring Apollo in the room. We're going to need to prove that he is in fact real. Okay.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, he's real.
He's real. I asked that question. I'm like, is Apollo real? He's like, yes, my dog. I'm like, cool. All right, excellent. So we're going to do that. As far as this is a Q&A, it's an AMA. We're going to please hold questions towards the end. Super chats, if you do super chat in, we will endeavor to answer those questions when they come in. But other than that, that's how we're going to do this. And so let's get into this. So what I want to do for you guys is I want to set the stage for you to give you guys a little bit of Matt's background. I've kind of interviewed him beforehand. So I've got some notes. And so with that said, I'm going to do this. And Zach, if I miss anything or anything you want to add, you know the drill, jump in. Okay, so guys, this is Matt. And Matt is the founder of Apollo Anew Doxing. He's here with us. He's on camera. He's not being done with smoke and mirrors. There he is. But just to give you a little bit of perspective of Matt, he is the founder of Apollo, as I said. He's got 25 or 30 plus years? How much gray hair do you have in software development?
Yeah, it looks like about 25 years of gray hair.
Yeah, that's about right. I think I'm probably a little bit more, but that's okay. So decades of software development. There's a lot of that has gone into Apollo. We're going to get into that here in a minute. In that vein, he's worked with massive brands like NASCAR, Pfizer. Any others you want to add to that, Matt, that I'm leaving off?
Procter & Gamble, Nabisco. We've done work for WWE, NBC, and companies that end. Like I said, we've been at the front of several waves of technology, from personal computing to the web to I broke out to do AR and VR, and now really excited about the crypto space. So when you're at the start of all those, you seem to get a lot of opportunities with brands that are looking to figure out a space. So I've been
and you mentioned you were early into app development for our phones, right? So that's I was just getting to that. So you are also the co-founder of Bottle Rocket, which has built apps again for like NBC, WWE, and pretty big brands. So that was pretty cool to me. But then 4 years ago, you mentioned you spun off to do AR, which is augmented reality, VR, virtual reality. And in that vein, you built some games for some pretty big YouTube channels. Can you give us a rundown of like those couple of not the games, but the channels that you built? And I mean, the games you built for the channels.
Sure. Mainly in the casual gaming space, like you said, in mobile, but FGTV is a pretty massive brand on YouTube that serves that tween kind of audience and doing kind of fun pick up and play type of games. But you're talking about hundreds of millions of downloads and even more than that in terms of plays and engagements. AB Family, Canadian-based YouTubing group, The Annoying Orange, which you may have heard of. That was really popular a while back. We built several games for them. So it's really things that we found that we can combine, our expertise in like development and monetization, things like that, with a brand that had a great presence to as I always call it, solve for why. So they have the market, they have the people, the eyeballs, and we can kind of partner to create great games with them. It's usually a mutually beneficial relationship.
Cool. Okay. Crypto J, I see your super chat. I'll get to you in a minute, buddy. So with that said, Matt, what I want to do is I want to give you the stage. And I would really like for you, because you painted the picture for Zach and I really want you to cover two things. How did you come up with the idea for Apollo? Where did it come from? And secondly, kind of wrapped around that, what is the vision of Apollo? What are you trying to accomplish with it? So can you enlighten us with that, please?
Yeah, so I'll back up. I mean, almost a year ago, everybody has that Bitcoin story where someone brought to them the idea of Bitcoin many years ago, and I wish I would have. Yeah, the same thing happened, and I was involved in other projects at the time. But about a year ago, after I finished a big AR project, I kind of turned my head towards crypto in this small cap kind of space, altcoins. It was really interesting, a lot of press buzzing around it. So started looking at them and investing in some, and got really interested in Ethereum, the chain for smart contracts, and the ability to do some interesting things with the ledger, the blockchain. And said, let's, so to speak, eat the dog food by investing in some of these. And, that just kind of got me excited that there was something that could connect with my business and that. So that's when we started diving into the R&D, me and my tech lead and the guy that works with me, really started to learn Solidity and, write our own contracts and put them on the test nets and explore and experiment. Kind of, it's like that same feeling like it was in mobile in 2009, 2010, where we're just kind of breaking through and seeing what we could do.
Right.
So we built some interesting code, but probably about a couple months ago, in a conversation I was having with my youngest son, who is a creative that's in college right now, to study audio engineering, music producing. He's always been really just kind of passionate about creating content. But, as you can imagine, that's kind of a struggle to find community, especially in the age of COVID and all the challenges surrounding just social connection right now. Right. And so I thought, what, maybe that's the connection. You got to always start a project with something that means something to you. Right. And obviously he's my son, but I've mentored and raised and had work for me many types of creatives in all these businesses over the years. And I just really value the beauty that they bring to the world. Whether it's a traditional fine art or whether it's digital and graphics arts or 3D animation or what you guys do, content creation, I think it all has a value to the world. Right. So I was like, that's it. We got to find a way that we can create something that's truly decentralized, because I'm a big believer of like why we're in the crypto space. And that's the idea of, we don't want to build more silos. We want to create things that the community has control and autonomy over. So that's where the DAO idea started to come forward. And it says, what, if we can get these young people or old people, doesn't matter, right? We can get them involved in an active community where every stakeholder benefits from, being involved in a token that's used, some as a governance token, to vote on projects, Kickstarter-ish kind of style. That gets really interesting because he's working full time. He's struggling to get through school, and he's actually making really good grades. He'll see this, and I don't want him to, come back at me. He does really well. Yeah. But
gotcha.
Where does he get that funding from? I mean, how does he buy that laptop to help him engage in that? Where does he?
Well, I want to say something. I want to interject because you said something about this. Zach's gonna remember where I'm going to go with this. When we were talking about this yesterday, and you mentioned your son, the first thing out of your mouth was, "I want my son to go out and make his own living and to go work," right? And that was something that really resonated with me. I think that brought it back to Apollo and the community aspect and the in that vein, and that was something that you're not handing him just like, okay, here you go, son, here's a ready-made career for you. I thought that was, again, very relevant. Right. I wanted to point out,
but to feel like, I mean, he's in communities all day, every day, right? Yeah. On social networks and things like that. It's like, why can't we build one that's just centered around a shared common interest, a token that represents that community, and something where they could exchange value with each other based on how well they feel like a project is. But it's more than just the token. It's about the mentoring. It's about the building of the community. It's about the trust. and then the value exchange.
So kind of within that, and I actually, this is a question just came to me. I mean, is there anything like this that you're aware of, a community that is built solely around trying to lift up artists, you know, creative type people and try to help them along the way? I simply don't know. So I'm asking, is there
I mean,
out there like that?
Again, I typically do things because they're, passion projects, and, they emanate from somewhere, and I want to see if we could do them and build them. The fact that Kickstarter's out there, I'm sure it's not a completely novel idea, but as we talked before, I'm an execution guy.
Yeah.
Like I think I'm not saying all ideas are cheap. I mean, this seems to be kind of a cool one. And all the feedback I've gotten from the communities that have spun up that I'm involved in, I've said, this feels fresh. This feels different. This feels exciting. So I'm just kind of leaning into their perspective on it as well, that says, let's put something out there to meet the visions and the goals of this, get the feedback from the community and evolve it from there. People like to have like these massive roadmaps and designs on what the future holds. And I've lived in spaces that move so fast in nascent markets that you could do that. But by the time you promise something big and spend 6 months to a year building it and it coming out there, it's either irrelevant because the market shifted so much and there's already competitor, or, who knows what in
Right.
that, or, it's gotten so far off in the original idea, or you couldn't do it. It just became too technically difficult. So we're big fans of saying, hey, voting, that's an interesting thing.
Right.
Let's focus on community building. Let's focus on building trust. And let's focus on just a very simple initial DAO that people can participate in, give feedback on, and then we can iterate.
Okay. And so since we're talking about the DAO and the kind of the community aspect, kind of is there anything you can kind of give us some insight into where you have got this community of artists and kind of how that process will work? Do you want to dive into that, or now? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think the meat of that's probably another sit-down discussion in a few weeks. I mean,
okay.
and I mean weeks. I mean, we're actively in the design right now. I've kind of given a few hints in the community channels, like on the Telegram.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, the basic components are, we'll have some kind of on-chain type nomination that's tied to a wallet address, and then probably some kind of web-based form or something that you would fill out to describe your project and make sure it meets the parameters, and create like a username so they can be somewhat anonymous, tied to the wallet address. We don't want to, make any connections for people that we don't have to when they're participating in this, but we got to have some way for the community to do due diligence on these projects. I just don't want people misrepresenting themselves. And those are some of the hard problems in the edge cases we just have to work through. Right. And then whether it's a off-chain kind of like nomination process or something that, we actually do through the DAO, still kind of wet clay there, figuring that out. But then basically the community will cast a vote into this system with a certain allocation of their tokens. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean staking them yet. We're looking at staking and various opportunities for that, for everybody to benefit in the ecosystem. But they would cast these votes, and obviously we have to have some kind of limits on them. So as the DAO grows in its percentage, which on our tokenomics is about 1% of every or exactly 1% of every transaction is going into that contract. Mm-hmm. Then the DAO has the rules, and we got to put some kind of guardrails on it so someone can't take $100,000, $200,000 out of the DAO for winning a project. Like, we'll have to vote on, as a community, the different guardrails and tiers for maxes and mins that people would receive from that. But we're thinking to make it kind of fun and interesting. It's not just a winner take all. Based on the number of votes and the percentages of all the votes that add up for each person, they might get each get a portion of that kitty, so to speak, that comes out to them.
Cool. And
so there's a lot more to that. That's a very high level simplified version of what we're intending to build here. But just really excited, because I think this is kind of the basis of people participating, and we want to find a way where that's beneficial. Like, we value the people that hold the token highly, right? And to get them to receive value in some way out of that participation is at the top of our mind.
Well, I think that's one thing that really resonated with me in talking with you is is you're really not focusing on the token. You're not focusing on the value. You're not focusing on the market cap. And we're going to talk about all that, but you're really focusing on the community aspect. You're really focusing on what are we building? And you just said about 2 or 3 different times. And by the way, Zach, you need to talk more. I'm just saying, so just FYI, you're up next. Is that you really are building, you use the word, you're really leaning into that community aspect. And I really think that that's one thing I want people to walk away from, is that it's not really about the price of the token. It's not about that. It's about, we're building a community. We're building this thing that's going to change lives. And I think that's one thing that I want to really make sure people get. Go ahead.
Yeah. I'm a believer that value is a byproduct of doing things the right way. And building great things. Yeah. So, I think that comes, I don't personally stress out about, anything that does it, because I'm looking at this as a token that's going to activate a community.
Right.
I think if we do it right, and not just my business, it's an open protocol that anyone could develop dApps around. I don't think just my business has to participate in it. I think people that get inspired by the idea of give back and enabling people to realize their dreams will come up with other ideas that they could build around this as well. And we encourage that.
Right.
Otherwise, we're just going right back to the siloed centralization that exists in the world today.
Gotcha. So Zach, I'm going to make sure I cover everything. You ask if you got something for Matt. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, I'll jump in. So Matt, obviously, we've heard a little bit about your background. I think people probably want to hear kind of who else you have working with you alongside you. So, and maybe kind of what their backgrounds are, what they bring to the table.
Sure.
Obviously, successful businesses, it's never one person, right? It's a team.
Sure.
So that'd be cool.
Yeah. So I'm the docs term, I guess. I'm here. I'm representing. I have a small team that works for me in my current business. But again, like I said, it's a passion project. But when you've been in technology and software development for almost 30 years or so, you build a big network. You have a lot of people that you've proven to, especially when you worked on big projects, that support you and then want to help develop. My team is 4 or 5 people that I work closely with every day. Software developers, people in the business end and the finance end of things, and then an extended network of people that, come to you and say, we believe in you as a person. And we know you've succeeded several times in businesses and in projects. And if you believe in this, we believe in this, and they get your back. Right. And I think they're interested in seeing this work because we're all at a stage in our career where, it's more about enabling the next generation and helping people kind of find their space, just like people did for us back when we were young. I grew up struggling to find a direction and thought I wanted to get into 3D art and animation at one point. Had to work 3 jobs to just try to get my way in the door, and never made it. Like, it just was too expensive, and it did. And I don't know. I'm really passionate about the idea that these new systems were built for the reason for us to find new ways to move out and exchange value with each other. So whether it's recognition or whether it's enablement for financial needs, that we can make that happen.
Okay, cool. So I want to stress something. You brought this up, 7 days old, and here we are. I asked you before we started, and I'm about to switch to the chart. Go look at Dex Tools. It's been probably an insane ride sitting in your seat. Can you put some meat around that, and just being 7 days old and what you've seen as far as growth?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie and say I'm surprised. It's actually the initial shot, and we did. And by the way, I think you mentioned this, but 100% fair launch.
Yep.
Like, nobody took tokens. We didn't distribute it. There's no admin functions in this. People have been kind of shooting at me about this, saying like, well, sure, there's something in there that you did, something that's hidden, and it's just not true. All the code's out there to look at, and we literally just put it out there, and hundreds of people were buying before we even kind of looked at, okay, well, what are we going to start doing on that kind of thing? It's just, it was really important to just do that under the radar and do that silent, for us, just so the community kind of gets first bite at it. But I guess I wasn't shocked at the spike, because I felt like the idea would resonate with there's so many smart people in these social forums, and they have so many great ideas. And I think they sniff out and recognize when, hey, here's something that really has legs and that can scale and that can grow.
Right.
And it makes sense. and it's not we could probably talk about the Inu thing, because I think a lot of people are, scratching their head about that one. But I think they're smart, and they realize, wow, we want to get in on this because it looks a little different. What surprised me, though, was like the sustainability once it reached a spike. Because I like that. I was like, okay, they don't really know anything about this project yet. So it's going to spike up, and then it's just going to go right back down to the floor. And maybe we'll sit there for a while while we build out our plans and, finish designing our platform. But I think that's when engaging with the community and just really being transparent and being honest and soliciting their input takes over. And it's just 100% truth. We got nothing to hide here.
Right.
We're just passionate about helping people. That's really all it comes down to. And I think we have the technical minds and the means to actually execute the project.
Cool. All right, cool. Let me let me do this. So talk about why Inu. Why did you add the Inu on it? And while you're doing that, I will bring up the DEX tools. So go.
Yeah, I think the Inu for some people represents just kind of a copycat coin or a capitalization type coin or something like that. To me, it's like I started learning through them. I started looking at those types of tokens and understanding how they writ their contracts. And I've got a lot of respect for the boldness that they went into the market to establish communities with, and saying, we get decentralization. We want to do this in a new way. And, software development's hard, and, people, it's challenging. And I don't think that the average consumer realizes that there's not a magic button you could push and something just manifests itself.
Right.
So, I respect them. I'm an investor in several of the Enus, and I just felt like with this one, especially being our mascot is a dog, it made a lot of sense to add the Enu. But it's almost like this, tribal honor badge that I look at it as. I actually don't look at it as negative. I think it's kind of a cool nod to a movement that deals with community first.
Right. So from a chart action standpoint, obviously, like we said, 7 days old. I want to dive into this real quickly. And you also said to me and Zach and I that part of the Enu aspect for you was the community, was that communal aspect that absolutely surrounds, the Enu, the Enu tokens. And that was why you went with that. Did I remember that correctly?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's no, particular reason for doing that. I know people will tend to look at a label and make a judgment from that, but I hope that people will look at us and judge us from our ideas, our experience, our vision. And, like one of the things that we're going to do here in the next week or so is create a public Trello board. Okay. And literally this will be something that everybody could look at in terms of where we stand in our progression, and completely transparent about what we're working on. And I really want the community to have kind of a directional voice in all that we're doing here. And that doesn't mean that there's no kind of person backing this or group doing that. There very much is hopefully it's proven through our launch here, that we have vested interest in seeing this succeed. But I just want to operate it in a different way.
Yep. No, I'm definitely understanding and getting that. So a couple of points or things. So Zach texted me behind the scenes and said, "Hey, go to a 1 day chart." So Zach, why did you want me to go to the 1 day?
Just because how much it went up early on. We don't see that. Matt, I wanted to ask you about this because I was talking to a developer earlier, and they were like, Austin, we were both on the call actually. They were like, the first 72 hours is like the do or die period. Mm-hmm. It's like, is this thing gonna happen, or is it gonna hit? So, what's kind of going through your head, like the first couple days of a launch?
Yeah, I'll be honest, guys. It's how are we going to get the information about this DAO nailed down and sent out to the group? Yeah. The candles are interesting, and I think that's great. And I'm not naive to the fact that that's people that are invested and they want to see this project move. But again, we're not getting any money out there to grow this. This is coming out of our pockets, and like the driver is long-term value for everybody. So to me, that's about, okay, but whatever. And the market that we're in right now, it's a tough market. But I'm thrilled at the fact that, it's just getting recognized at our social platforms. We crossed, I think, over 1,000 holders yesterday, I believe, or the day before, maybe.
Yep. And
we're getting pretty close to that on Twitter, and the Telegram's growing pretty quick too. I mean, that's fantastic. That's what I'm kind of focused on, and when I'm growing. I mean, the price will work itself out down the road. It's more about, I care about the volume and the interactions and the holders, because that means people are buying into our vision.
100%. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, as you know, Matt, Zach and I live in the world where we're consistently and constantly looking at charts and prices of tokens. And I think one thing I want to really reiterate here is that you're not really so much focused on that. You're focused on, it's almost like a build it and they will come model. I think that's really kind of how what movie was that from? Oh, Field of Dreams. There it is. Got it.
Classic.
Got it. But yeah, but I do want to stress some things.
How about build it with me and everybody will come?
There you go. Build it with me and everybody. Somebody needs to write that down and copyright that. That's probably a copyright trademark scenario. From a price action standpoint, I mean, I have watched it from day one, and for you to accomplish some of these levels that I'm highlighting, I know it's backed off just a little bit. There's a couple things I want to point out that I've seen and Zach's seen, is that number one, what it definitely, you have found your level of support. You have mentioned it earlier, kind of in right here, right now, where this range we're at. And one thing that I've seen, like perfect example right here on the screen, we had a 16.5 ETH sale, and I've watched this consistently. I know Zach has as well. It will be, that term eaten up. It will be eaten up, and it will bounce back, whereas I've seen other charts where you see a sell like that and it's the death knell, and so I think that's definitely from the tokenomics and from the price, the chart standpoint. I have been watching this like a hawk for days, and I've seen that very consistently. And that just to me shows strong community, very invested, et cetera. So anything you want to add into that, Matt?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like I said, I'm an investor in some, and I'm a participant and developer in others. This is definitely the latter. Yeah, I'm encouraged at the idea that, this resonates with people, and I think that getting that backing, and whether it's from my network or whether it's from, everybody out there in the public, just remember this is 7 days. I think sometimes people just latch on to the fact of like, oh my gosh, what's happening on this 15-minute candle. I just encourage them to just say, hey, we're building something, much richer and much bigger. But I will point out that our mascot is a border collie, so we're very smart, we're very fast. So
very smart, very fast. Cool. Zach, you want to add into that? I'm going to kind of switch off this, and we'll go back to kind of where we were at over here. So
no, I mean, what are kind of the next steps like right now, I guess, Matt? Like what's on the radar for the next few weeks, few months? Where are kind of the priorities maybe? Yeah,
so I mean, you can imagine this immediate influx of interested parties. We'll just call them at this point, having several conversations with people that are interested in supporting us with the token, is the way I'll put it right now. Mm-hmm. I think the DAO design is top of mind. I spent almost all day yesterday on that, and I'm loving it. And I think that you'll see something in the near future for a proposal for we'll call it the 2.0 version, right? There's a placeholder there right now until we, have the ability to kind of work out some of these details and get that active in place. And like I said, you think of like today's modern software, something like Minecraft and Notch, and you put something out there that's just this basic server with blocks in there to get people's reactions and see what works and what doesn't. And we'll obviously be safe and very protective of the monies that have been collected in the DAO, and everybody can audit that as well. But it's about the learning and evolving stage right now. But I think very quickly we're going to have an operating system up there. We've already received a lot of interest from people that want to participate, obviously on the project side. Mm-hmm. But our focus is deeply right now on building just the best kind of system for people to participate in voting.
Right. Yep. Cool. Okay, so I want to make sure I've kind of covered everything there. So one thing you've kind of consistently come back to is again, good software development community. I think that comes from the decades of experience you have in that. And you know, I do a lot of these AMAs. I look at a lot of projects. I know Zach does too. And I think the one thing that I've really heard from you in talking about this kind of leading up to this event and is that the singular focus you really are bringing to this. I think that's really what's really resonated with me is that you're not focused on the token per se, the price point. You know, if that happens, you know, that will come with time. It's more about you want to build the community, impact the community, things of that nature. And that's
for sure.
Really,
I mean, and the first step of that is building a fair token and doing,
absolutely.
You know, and doing that. And I think our tokenomics are great. There's no dev wallet. There's no marketing wallet. You know, we're committed and invested ourselves into making this work. And, you know, we spent a lot of money in designing this ecosystem and developing, and we will continue to, right? I mean, that's our kind of investment into this project. And, you know, hopefully within the DAO, we could find some, because I want lots of people to participate around the protocol. We'll find some way in the DAO to incentivize, you know, not only the people participating in the voting, but also, you know, that are developing the systems for the DAO. Right. So that's kind of the details and the things we need to work around. And then obviously making it secure and going through audit process, like you guys are familiar with, that just needs to happen and things like this.
Yep. You mentioned something earlier, the Trello board. I personally never had to really use those in my professional, but put some meat around that. What's that going to be about? You know, and what's that? Because somebody dropped a comment earlier that said that's really a cool thing. So I wanted to go back to that.
Yeah, it's you know, our teams in the groups I've led for years, you know, use agile methodology, which is just kind of a process for, you know, doing, you know, 1 week or 2 week, what they call sprints, where, you know, you have meetings that establish the goals and you bid on how long you think they're going to take. And then those are assigned a point value. I won't bore everyone, yada, yada, yada. And then you get to the point where you can assess and evaluate how many of those points you got through each week. So you can create kind of this understanding of trajectory of the project, and are we on track? Are we on not? And usually in the old methods like waterfall, it would be like, yep, we think we're on track, but that group's working in their silo and that's working, and there's all these dependencies and they don't match up, and you know, it gets off track really, really quick. So with our iterative development kind of mindset, I think it works well. But Trello is just a tool that some of the big agile software platforms have, you know, acquired in this case, that's more kind of easily more than an agile board. They could kind of see like, well, here are all the tasks and kind of their priorities, what's in progress, what's in testing, what's moved over to certification, even maybe a backlog of stuff that we've heard from the community that really is like, that's a great idea that we're going to do it. But, you know, a lot of that is just to get, you know, the DAO off the ground and into the community and just to prove trust. And then we just, again, hope that it's not all of us just doing the work to grow this kind of thing. You know, back to the centralized thing. It's everybody's excited enough to grow what they've invested in this idea for by, you know, becoming a participant in the development of this software and the growing of it. Like a dream I would have is just like, can we build like the first true, you know, massive distributed development group with this community, and people, who knows? I mean, they might just find a cool ability or desire to be involved in software development, which is obviously another passion of mine that comes from this group.
Cool. All right, Zach, anything I've left off the table? Anything you want to circle back to?
Just something from our conversation the other day. The one thing that kind of resonated with me the most revolutionary voting system that empowers people across the network. You said that the other day when we talked, and I love that idea. Obviously the DAO, and how did that all come to be? Like, are you kind of looking around the space? Like, are you kind of looking at and seeing what works for other projects? What hasn't worked? What can we kind of take and what can we kind of leave out? How did that all come together?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we do a lot of digging and looking at other projects and kind of taking what we like and kind of, you know, saying, oh, we don't think that's applicable. And again, trying to, just like everybody, learn in a space that's quickly evolving, and, you know, lots of cool projects coming on there. I'm not one that ever really focuses on the competition or what other people are doing, obviously. And in that space. I feel like if I have a good idea, do some due diligence and find out, like, is someone just kind of already hyper focused on this kind of thing, or could we do it better? Or do we feel like, this is, we're bought in enough to just grind it out against, someone else? And then we just make those decisions and then go for it. I mean, I think people could spend for months, if not years, over analyzing things and not get to work. We're get to work type of people. And ask anyone in the Discord. I mean, we jumped in and we just said, okay, let's just start building. I mean, I'm not going to wait for, to see what person X does or group Y does. It's just, it's about a learning culture is what it is, right? You put something out there, we want to learn from, we want to grow. And people just need to understand, have patience with the idea of, like, software is rarely perfect now when it's launched. But if you can launch something, I equate it to, like, Amazon started with books and then it became the world's marketplace. So we're at books right now.
Yeah.
We're in the publishing business.
Scott Herman's with us. Hey, Scott. Scott Herman Fitness. He's got a cool YouTube channel. So Scott's with us. So we have Scott in the house. So I'm just giving him a shout out. As far as prepared content, that's all I've got, Matt. I mean, you've done an amazing job as far as kind of navigating us through it. And
I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, I've got an even more, and I already knew a lot of it, but I think I've got a much more clearer. Now he's changed it to Scott Herman Crypto. He was in the wrong account. Yeah, I know Scott's got a fitness and a crypto. Sorry, I get pulled down a rabbit hole. You can tell. But I think what I really, again, I think community is the big word that really has resonated with me. And so with that said, let's open it up to questions. Zach, do you have anything you want to ask or add to that? I'm going to see if there's any questions yet, and then we'll do a Q&A as long as we're here.
Yeah, man. Sounds good. Yeah.
All right, let's see. What we got here. So Cody has come up, says we have all the instructions in the Telegram also. May have missed the part of that. I'm assuming. I think there was might have been something else in that.
I'll see what he was referring to.
Yeah, it says, are you guys just looking to promote individuals or projects? I'm in Telegram. I have some good ideas for the VR metaverse for this project. Now, is that actually, Matt, is it more artist centric, or does development kind of come into play here?
Yeah, I mean, we're I've used the word artist a lot, but really content creation and bringing something kind of cool and unique to the world is the bigger construct here. So I don't think it's limited to art necessarily, but it is kind of hyper focused at start. Remember, the community and the DAO can kind of change its perspective over time, which is part of the great part of this.
Right.
But yeah, I don't think there's any rules around individuals or projects. We have a heart for indies. We have a heart for those that are just starting out and doing that. And I'd love for it to evolve in a way that kind of supports the growth and recognition of someone, as opposed to a channel for someone that's already established, or, we're probably on the form that they have to fill out, like, and the guidelines to submit for the contest, like, has some rules. And then as the community goes out there and nominates or selects a project, they get to see, the qualifications of the forms that they filled out and where they fit. And hopefully they police the idea of what the culture stands for in the community, through that.
Yeah, but that is interesting that, again, that community, that word comes up again, how it can be one thing today, and over time it morphs and changes. And
it's a living organism if you do it right.
Yeah, that's the whole point. Yeah. Okay, so let me see, guys, drop your questions in, please, and I will, if you got a good one, then I will definitely throw it up here. Let's see. See what this says. This token is going to take over. Imagine all the people working. They will bring in a community of workers, not just a token. If I'm reading that right. So this token is going to take over. Imagine I'll be working. They will bring in. What I'm getting from this is they will create a community of people who want to work, and things like, you're not just creating a token. That's what I'm getting from this. So,
or as artists want their network and people that are attached to support them, it brings them kind of into the Apollo ecosystem to participate. So it has kind of this natural viral networking effect to solicit, support for your project, not only directly with the community that already exists, but growing that community through bringing people into it that are already connected to that artist.
Right. Okay. This one, it's something we haven't talked about. I think it's relevant. Now we're kind of coming back to the token side of it. You know, your name is Apollo Anu. You grab the Anu from the communal aspect. We've talked about that earlier. So Richie, I don't know if you're here for that, but Matt, I mean, do you want to take this one and just kind of put some more around this?
Yeah, I mean, I think other people are doing DAOs. I don't think governance is a new thing. You know, I think if you look at in the class of the e-news, I mean, they're focused on things like wallets or staking or, you know, things like that, which I'm not saying is not on our roadmap. I mean, we've discussed everything above, right? Because we all want to build long-term value by collecting different pieces of this ecosystem to benefit the people that are in it, to sustain those communities. So I think that's cool. But, you know, I think right now, what edge do we have? I really do feel like it's our team, our focus, our methodology, and, you know, our spirit, quite honestly. I mean, I feel like the way we deploy the token and its tokenomics and the fair launch really hopefully just sends a message to the community that we're in it for a greater purpose than to make a buck. And there's no way that we can pull the market away. I mean, we didn't even touch on the liquidity yet. But, you know, when that was put forward, I mean, we wrote a contract to basically lock that up for 6 months completely. And then a small trickle, you know, that would be released over time for another 6 months, I believe, is what that is, just to make sure that we have a strong footing before that can start. Of course, anyone could add liquidity to the pool, and we hope they do and believe in the project that much. But, you know, I'm not too worried about supporting the liquidity long term on this project. I think we're strong right now, and I think it'll only get stronger on that front. Yeah,
and Zach and I both looked at it. I mean, I would absolutely agree. So this is a question. Thanks, Zach, for the reminding me. He texted me on the side. That's the magic that goes on behind. So, so will you be applying to get listed on SideMask? You knew you were going to get asked this one. So besides the obvious advantage of being on it, the publicity of being listed. So what's your 2 cents with that? When SideMask is up and running and it's working, that's predicated there. So I'll let you speak to that one, Matt, if you want to.
Yeah, we've set no rules on this idea. I mean, I have some personal perspectives on the right stages to do what and what can be distracting. I mean, we're a lean and mean team right now. I mean, we are currently hiring and growing and looking to support in lots of different levels. As we said, we thought we had a little bit more time before the interest generated. So now a little bit of response mode. But I mean, that's kind of down the track of when we feel like we have a good, solid use case. But as I mentioned earlier, there's already groups reaching out on the same kind of front to us right now that have expressed extreme interest. And right. I mean, I'm a member of the community too, and a representative of that. And you know, I can't dismiss. Does this help grow the ecosystem? And I'll filter everything through that. And part of the ecosystem are the investors. Part of the ecosystem are the artists. And so that's the steward. That's what I'm a steward of, right? And we all are. So we got to figure out the best way to disseminate that information. But here's what I'm not going to do is start pumping out there as soon as I have an email conversation with someone that I think it's going to affect the price or anything like that. That's not my business. I'm not in the price business. I'm in the business of, is this a good move to improve the ecosystem? And you know, I think if SideMask is a good move to improve the ecosystem and bring the right people into it, I'll talk to the community and we'll work through it.
And at the first thing you said, at the right time.
At the right time.
I that was something that I got out of that. And that was a really great answer. Very interesting how you put that together, because, you know, it's not the usual answer. The whole email conversation, I'm not going to immediately go out and talk about that thing. It has to be right for the community. And then you said, I'm going to vet it by the community. And, you know, and your community is all those different groups. So again, community. I think I'm going to like community. I'm going to have it like plastered on the back of me or something. Zach, did you see any questions earlier that I've missed? Anything you want to ask? Go.
If you go back down to kind of current, Everto's got a good one there. Underneath Foxy's comment, I think Crypto J's got another good one there. Not a super chat.
Okay, here we go. So Everto, what's your marketing strategy? Not many people know about this token yet. Only 1250 holders, which is great for us who got in. How do you plan on getting the idea and name out there? Very good question, Everto. So there you go, Matt.
Yeah, so 1,250 holders in 7 days with no marketing. I mean,
It's not bad.
I mean, maybe there is something like that the community is virally propagating in terms of like, we feel this is special and different. You know, that's an area that is tricky in terms of our involvement in heavy marketing. And, you know, my hope is, obviously you've seen through the network, we're on great shows like this. There's other, you know, forums that we're planning stuff with right now to pursue it. But to me, it's about focus and distraction right now. Like, this brings value to our community because it brings awareness and understanding and education as to what we're doing and who we are. I'm fine with doing those throughout the coming weeks. Right. You know, getting a full blown marketing plan to go get this group to support us and that group to support us. It's not the time for that yet. I still think the organic growth stage is so nascent. And I kind of want to see what it can do. And that's not dishonoring anyone that, that's invested in here, but you need to think about what type of investment that you're in. If that's your expectation for this, because, this is not, just a quick in and out.
Well, that's something you've definitely said a couple of times to Zach and I, right? Zach, I mean, you want to speak to that point, like what Matt just said. I mean, it's not an in and out. He said that to us like 8 times. It's just one of those things where it's like you put some meat around that, Zach.
No, 100%. And I just kind of wanted to go to Crypto Jay's comment right underneath the Vertos, because it kind of goes hand in hand. And talking about that word of mouth marketing that Matt referenced there. Artists are friends with other artists. A community like crypto, do you think this kind of word of mouth will spread like wildfire organically through the year? That's a great point. I mean, artists talk to artists.
There's Apollo. All right, you got to stop. There he is.
Sorry, Jay. I know you're in the forum, and you're awesome, but the cute dog just arrived. So
how big is he?
Oh, he's probably what, 40 pounds or so. He's not. He might seem big on the camera just because he's up close, but yeah, he's real. He's doxed. Here you go, guys.
That was the moment right there. Apollo is dogs. That's cool. Is he pretty chill? Day of mine.
He is a really chill dog. His heart's beating pretty fast right now. He's never been in front of this many people. So
yeah, he has a clue. Thanks, man. That was cool. So back to that question right here. Yeah. So Matt, I mean, you kind of saw this for you while you were grabbing Apollo. So what do you think? You already maybe seen a little bit of this, but really, actually, that's not true. You haven't launched. The community's not aware.
Yeah.
That's a whole new wave.
Yeah, we're so early. We're so pre. And again, I was planning on kind of a couple months with the silent launch, a couple months build up to get to the point where we were ready for people to kind of release this kind of thing. But I think it's okay to get involved now because that shapes the ideas in the future as well. But yeah, I agree with the statement. I mean, I think that any tight-knit community that, not necessarily struggles to be mainstream, but it's perceived value of creative things can be challenging at times, right? I mean, it's other things that in our world, I think, that aren't just centered around engagement or beauty or entertainment, sometimes are quantifiable, but I don't know. I value those things highly, and I think those groups are very tight knit. So when they find that they have a place where they can kind of commune and be appreciated,
right?
I do think that, and my hope is one of the big goals we have here is this is the destination for big thinkers and creatives and content creators to kind of come, solicit feedback, evolve their ideas, build a base audience, and then hopefully benefit from it to help them finish their projects. We all want to see projects finished. I can only imagine how many unfinished creative projects are sitting around the world right now. Trillions.
I've never told either one of you guys this. My dad died very suddenly in 2008, but he always wanted to be a writer, and he was writing a book, and he actually finished it. Didn't get published, but I saw him go through that process of always being a business guy his whole life, and ultimately, he was ironically a creator at heart and never really got to fulfill that dream. So I kind of lived that firsthand in that.
Yeah. And that permeates through my family too. My mom is a very gifted painter. She'd always did it as a hobby. I'm not sure she ever wanted to pursue it as a professional career, but that kind of inspired me as a young person, watching her outside of her normal job. And so this isn't just about like, oh, this is a springboard to my future. Sometimes they have people that are in other walks of life have something they need to explore and have a great idea, or they have a start to something that resonates, their story resonates with the community and drives people to action. Right. That's what this is about, right? My dad started a sports magazine when I was in high school, and got one issue out, and it just didn't go anywhere or whatever. But those are the kind of things that inspired me to be an entrepreneur and to care about those kind of things. And I mean, if nothing else, it gets a young person involved in a community that shows them that anything is possible when you're not afraid to share your ideas and you're not afraid to pour your heart and soul into something, and then brave enough to share it with people. That should be rewarded. Those are the kind of things in our world that I want to honor.
Yep. No, I completely agree. So I've got one coming. This is an obvious one, but you knew this was going to happen. So I'm not even going to say it. You're okay.
Should I say whenever my Lambo arrives?
Exactly. Yes. Yes. And when you're going to buy me one too, right? I mean, that's how it works. So
matching, those will look great.
Those will look awesome. I want a lime green one, and you can get like a pink one, and Zach will get an orange one.
I'm not sure awesome. Why I get the pink one. Oh, yeah. Sure. Fine. Yeah. Again, when they reach out, and we're in process right now, we'll see if they add value to where we are in the roadmap and what the ecosystem needs. And I mean, I understand the desire for growing the value on the coin side of things. And we're not going to neglect that.
Right.
But we're also, I mean, we're all witnessing the challenges associated with exchanges right now. Yep. And everything. Like, everybody's learning and evolving. So, I mean, I'm not saying that we're slow playing here, but we're being careful. We care about people's investments, and we want to make sure they're put in the right place.
Right.
Can I jump in there, Austin?
Yep.
Yeah.
On that note, Matt, like, do you know, like, is there like a vetting process, like from the developer side? Like, can you say, let's just say it's Bitmart, for example, right? Like one of the maybe first exchanges you get on, like as you're getting things rolling, can you go to Bitmart and say like, hey, what have you done for XYZ token, and why should I list to Bitmart? Like, is that, or is it just the other way?
Just me personally, I mean, we got great backing already. I mean, anyone that's not going to give me a forum for a conversation, I'm not really interested in. I mean, if there's a way that we can share value and earn together, that's fine. I'm not really interested in one-sided relationships. That kind of goes against everything that I'm about. So, I represent what this idea means. And if they believe in the idea and they want a fair kind of way to help us with that idea that helps them as well, I'm all ears. Let's go for it. Let's do it. But we're just not approaching this project of like, here's the list of 15 exchanges, and our goal for hitting Coinbase is X. Yeah. That it's just not going to evolve that way. I mean, if you build the right thing, it's going to get everyone's attention. Let's just build the right thing.
Yep. Yeah, and that's actually different in current crypto projects. And Matt, you've been around it. Zach's been around it. We've seen these. I know, Matt, you've seen the different projects come and go, and we've had conversations around that. And I think that what I'm really again getting from you is that if an exchange approaches and if it makes sense and it's the right value equation for the token, the community, the business, and where it's at, we'll have that dialogue. But you're not out chasing those so that you can then go out and then have a catalyst, frankly, for somebody like me to talk about.
Right. Well, I mean, it's not that I recognize that, but it's all about its right stage and timing. Like, I think that to be distracted right now from building the true underlying value that makes something last, which is the foundation of the code we're writing right now, the building of the community and activating on them in terms of what they want to see and what they want to participate in. Like, I can't think of anything else that's more important to this project right now than pouring that foundation.
Right.
That doesn't mean that doesn't happen fast. And then we get really, interested and excited now about activating on let's, fill the pool now. When it's time to fill the pool, I can assure you, we know the right people, and we have the way to to fill the pool. We got plenty of water. So I'm just not that worried about it. I think that if we activate on our plan, I think everybody's going to be interested. And they're already, and even on what we've seen in 7 days, they're already showing interest. So
right. And that's, again, we got to keep coming back to that. We're 7 days into this, and I didn't expect to be here in 7 days. When we had some conversations and you told me what you're trying to do, I'm like, it sounds really, really cool. And I think that will develop organically over time. And then I think we were all pushed back, right, Zach, on our heels a little bit. Like, wow. And you said something earlier. What did you say? You didn't even have a Telegram because you expected some time, and then you found a Telegram that was already about your group. What was that?
There's a gentleman in our Telegram that I've actually been really impressed with, and he's kind of been helping us. And this is what I'm talking about, the community team. He's self-selected into being the guy that went all Scooby-Doo on us to figure out what the heck is this token and why is there no information we could find out about it, right? But I think that's also kind of the mystique and the mystery we were going for in this idea of like, let's just silently launch it, and we're going to start to build our narrative around that as it unfolds and get people excited, in that kind of way. Mm-hmm. Spending months building expensive marketing, doing all that stuff, that's back to the iterative design. How do we even know that people care about this, that even likes it? Now I think there's a resounding message that people care about this. Right. People want to see this succeed, and it has a place in the crypto sphere. So that gets us energized and excited. It's like, okay, great. Now we're going to pour more of our investment into making this happen. So I love the way that it evolved. I mean, some people are scratching their head going, why didn't you prepare for this? But, usually when we're building, let's take a game or a software project, it goes through this process of, we'll build a few basic mechanics out. This is fun, and we'll pass it around to our friends. We'll see it. Yeah, that's interesting. That's kind of cool. We like that. Oh, that's really interesting. And then we'll start to, solicit feedback on that, and we build a game around that. Is that better to do it that way, or is it better to fully plan something out, deploy it, and realize that the audience doesn't care about it?
Right. Good point. So said a different way, you're just bringing the software development aspect to really the crypto game, and not even the crypto. It's just building this community aspect and building out and kind of finding out what the community wants. Right. And then going in that direction. Yeah. Let me make sure. Let's see if we got any other questions. I know we've had a few. Kyle wants to get an autograph. There you go. So Kyle an autograph.
Let me get some ink for the paw print.
Exactly. Apollo has been doxxed.
He did.
There you go. There we go.
All the dogs in our neighborhood aren't going to leave him alone now. It's great.
He's going to be like, I'm kind of a big deal. I don't really want to talk to you anymore.
All right.
White paper.
Great question.
Yeah. So when's that coming? Where we at on that? Okay.
So I'm working. Obviously, one of the big central components of it is to finish our design of the DAO. But it's already in progress. Weeks.
Okay.
Couple weeks.
All right. You heard it here first, guys. Weeks. So there you go. Yep. Straight from the man himself. Oh, there we go. This is awesome. Being a creator isn't always practical. I agree with that. Let's help them. Zach and I know how that feels. It's not always very practical. So it's it's funny, Matt, and I think I've shared this with you, and I didn't really know I was a creator. And when I started doing this and I started realizing that I enjoyed the iterative process of creating content, deploying it, and then tomorrow I wake up, I create more content. There's a certain aspect of that I really, really like, but it also is what I didn't really understand being a creative is that it's pervasive and that it's every single day. And it's been an adjustment in my family, my wife and my son. They're like, you work a lot more, Dad. Cause I basically was kind of quasi-retired, sold companies, et cetera. But I will tell you, ironically, I'm happier now being a creative content creator than frankly I was when I was running my companies. I didn't know I had this desire or this need, but really it's a pervasive every single day I have to create, even when I don't want to. And I know there's artists out there that get that, even when you don't want to, you got to get up.
Just like athletes, they don't see your 5 a.m. grind that you said you get up every day to do, right?
No,
it's the same concept.
I'm a huge Stephen King fan, and I heard two quotes from him. He was one of the guys who said people walk up to like, I want to be a writer. And he's like, then go write, number one. But number two, somebody asked him like how he was so could put out so much content. He said, it's real simple. I write 10 pages a day. And you think about that for a minute, and it's like, well, 10 pages a day doesn't sound like much, but 10 pages a day for 30 days is 300 pages.
It's a book.
It's a book. And it's that artistic every single day you have to be at your craft. And I know that your son's, experiencing that, you mentioned your mother, right? Painter. Is that right? Yeah. And
it's a hobby. Yeah.
It's a hobby, but it's still a creative aspect. So I think it's cool that you're tapping into that. And I think that there's going to be an overwhelming large community that's going to welcome you with open arms, because a lot of creators, they just live in purgatory. They never get out. They never get out there, So I applaud you on that. Yeah. So
thank you.
So let's see. Creators enhance everybody's life. This is Cody. Cody's been dropping some good stuff. So I'm enjoying it. Community that hasn't voted. Apollo. Let's see. Where we buy and no big cost. So right now it is Uniswap. Guys, I had a question earlier, Matt, and this is actually a good one. Somebody asked, why did you launch on Ethereum and not on Binance? So can you maybe to speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, I personally just, the path that we learned from and the coins that we studied were, the ERC20 protocol. I know that the proof of stake journey has been longer than anyone expected. But I also kind of subscribe to the idea of like, well, we could look at a layer 2 chain, and we did look at Polygon. We looked at, a couple of other ones, and there are some additional steps already. It was as an investment guide to some people that have gotten into this, the steps that it's had to take are already pretty hard UX, so to speak, to get people there. And then you add a couple to that on the fair too. I just felt like, the Ethereum chain is it's big enough. There's enough in there. It's going through some growing pains and some problems, and they're actively trying to fix it. And I hope the summer date holds and solves some of these problems. But until then, we're building and we're growing, and I think it's the time to start to participate in this. But hopefully, those will be problems that are eased in the future. And not to say there's not solutions where we could bridge or do some things that might help relieve that. That's definitely on the topic board.
Okay, cool. So this is an interesting one. I think Blue Buzz already asked one, but with your VR experience, is that going to enter into this? Will Paulo reach out to Metaverse in terms of creative works? Is that something there it is. All right. Enough said. Move on. I like that little thing right there. Interesting. Okay. All right. Let me get it off the screen. I'm working. All right. Zach, you got anything while I'm looking for one?
I just saw one come across. They want to know if you're going to be on Twitter.
Me or him?
No, Matt.
On Twitter?
Yeah,
we just spun up an account. It's like 1,000 people now. What do you mean personally?
Personally, yeah.
Now that you're docs, now that you're out there, it's like, okay, they want to interact with you now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. Why not? Sure. I'm doing it right now.
I tell you what, I will if Austin will be the admin of the account.
Oh God, no! Then it's never going to happen.
That's the only condition.
No way in hell that's going to happen. So he's never going to be on Twitter, folks. Zach had to drag me onto Twitter. I'm like, I don't want anything to do with that Twitter thing, and then and here I am.
I tell you what, like I feel like I'm starting to embrace and adopt the Telegram. It's actually. I'm just proud of our community. I'll go back to that again, because participating in some of the other coins I've been on there, and it's insane. Like I can't make heads or tails of anything, and people are spamming stuff left and right. But there's just the vibe, as everyone puts it in ours, of just like, oh, it's chill. People are actually having conversations, asking good questions. I try to pop in there a couple times a day and do like a little mini AMA or ask what's everyone's up to, what can I answer, that kind of thing. It just seems to be going well. Now, when we have, you tell me in how many weeks, when we have 10,000 people in there, that might be a little bit different. We're going to have to really grow up. But the guys, the moderators in that Telegram group, and, we're starting to kind of focus now more on Discord too, and try to grow that up to be a thriving community. Man, I can't, just thank them enough for just wanting to step up and participate, because that was the dream. That's what I'm looking for, is just people that self-select and say, not only did I put, my means into this, I also put my time and my heart into this. Right.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's interesting. Like Zach and I both have experienced it. I have moderators that are on here, Foxy and others that just
Foxy's great. I remember her from when
Yeah. So, I mean, you just have these people that, again, goes back to that community. They just they self-step up, or they step up, they just start doing. And then you're like, hey, would you like to help more? And they give of their time. And so it's really
awesome.
Been cool to see. We're coming up at 1 hour and 5. We're going to start wrapping it up, guys. We like to keep these things pretty short, and this has gone really, really cool. I mean, I think everybody's learned. I've learned something. I knew a lot of this, but I've learned a lot more. I'm trying to think. Zach, if you saw a question that I haven't got to, let me know. Here we go. This is important. So sorry, Matt. I apologize, but that was important. I needed to get that.
Let me see if I can answer that one. He's in a chair now.
So it's not. If I'm not busting his chops, then somebody has to do. Let's see. Here you go. Will Blue Bloods is asking some good questions. Will Apollo New creators be able to be funded by the DAO to create projects for Apollo New, such as Apollo mini games?
Again, don't mean to sound like a broken record, but if that's what the community nominates and votes for, 100%. I love that idea. I think that any time you find kind of a platform that inspires you, like you should participate or ask people to help support that.
Right.
And it's a funny little story, and it's my dog, and I think making content around him, and obviously we're very big into the gaming world, and I don't want to confuse focus here. There's lots of things on our roadmap. You got to start somewhere, and it would be easy for me to come out here and say NFTs this and gaming that, play to earn. There's a laundry list of things that we have skill sets and people and connections and experience in here. Let's get voting down and build a community around that. And then let's go be top dog.
Yep.
I love that, because there's so many of the new projects that come out, like you said, Matt, and it's not a knock on any of these projects. They might all deliver, right? But there's so many deliverables, and it's out like 4 or 5, 6 months, sometimes a year, and it's like things change. Things could be totally different in the whole crypto space 4 or 5 months from now.
For sure.
So I like to focus in on each goal at a time. Check the box and keep it moving.
And it doesn't mean that we're concurrently not making new plans. And that's what my hope for the Trello board is, or the website with the graphics. See, went over an hour. Or the stuff. What, y'all making fun of my IT over here?
I am. I'm out, man. Your IT just failed.
Right. So I lost my point, but it doesn't mean that there's not other things going on concurrently for different projects. It's just, we're not going to reveal them. I don't feel it necessary that we have to show this massive roadmap to compete with company X. I just don't feel like we're competing. I just feel like we're pursuing a vision, and we're going to do it in a way that best supports the community. And let's go have fun. Let's just go do it and have fun as a community doing it and learn.
Yep.
I think that's an absolute perfect comment to end on. All right. So I think we've wrapped it up at 1 hour and 10. I've gone through the questions. There were a few, but we've covered them. So Matt, I genuinely, truly want to thank you, man. I think that sitting in this seat and doing these, I have done a lot of these, and I've participated in a lot of these. This has been really, really cool, very refreshing, in that what I really got from you was your experience, and all of the software development, the app development, and everything you've done in that world, bringing that into crypto, but having a different view of it. Not of, to your point, I'm not going to release 18 different projects on day one. I'm not going to go out and compete. I want to create something that's different. I want to, change people's lives. That was one thing you said earlier, and I even think I put that on thumbnail when I was talking about initially, covering a video for you. And I think it's unique, it's refreshing, it's different. So I want to applaud you, man, and say it's really cool.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that, guys. I really do, and I appreciate what you've supported on my journey of learning, Austin. You know, I've been watching your videos for a while, and Zach, you know, it's been great to get to meet you and know you through the course of this as well. And I think you guys are putting great content into the world that's helping people as well. So, you know, that resonates with me, and just hoping to continue this journey together and talk more about it as it continues to evolve.
And it will. I think that we'll continue to see it. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy to watch it. Zach, you got anything you want to wrap up with, man?
No, I just say I'll come back to what you were saying, Austin, earlier. It's community driven, and everybody has a voice. I mean, that's kind of what really resonated with me tonight. Is that's the whole premise of this project, the DAO. And if you have a good idea, sounds like you can throw it out in the Telegram, and Matt and his team are willing to listen. So
yeah, and again, it's hard to do that right now because we're not scaled to support the immediate growth that's happened. So I don't want anyone to feel like neglected, but through the tools that we're building, their participation in the nominations and the review of the projects, that will be something that everybody will have, that's a part of the Apollo ecosystem, will have the ability to participate in. And that's about the democracy of, you know, how do you really move something through a decentralized system, right, and not have kind of these constraints of, oh, I got to go through that organization, or that person's in charge, or I don't trust them. Like, that's the walls we're trying to break down here in a larger picture, that we should all be kind of working together as all these projects, in my opinion, right now.
Fresh your breath there, man. It's been cool to talk with you. So guys, we're going to wrap it up. For everybody that attended, thank you so much. I had somebody ask, was this a replay and was this live? Yes, this was live, but now we're going to a replay. So anyway, thank you guys, and we'll see you guys later.
Thanks so much.